Starting like. Hi everyone, we're here. We're about to start. Okay.
Alrighty, so I guess we'll first start by thanking everyone for coming in today, or joining in the comfort of your own bed or office. We just wanted to first just introduce everyone that's here. Jen, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jen Pimentel, Jennifer. I know most of you guys in the room. I'm the executive director of her programs in LA, which means I Jefferson Park facility and LA.
I'm Brittany Sorgenstein. I'm the senior manager of operations, so I basically see the operations that go on outside of Mission Hills.
You know me.
For the people on live.
Sorry, this is Nicole, nursery lead.
Yeah, make sure you project so everyone can hear you guys, okay?
I'm Michelle Flickraft. I'm the life-saving manager here, so that's adoptions, foster, and volunteer program.
And I'm Leah Lindenmoon. I'm probably a new face to quite a number of you, although I met some of you the other evening. I'm the new manager of animal programs. I'm recently back from a 5 to 6 month maternity leave and have a 5-month-old little girl. A little bit about my background, just since I'm new to overseeing cats, is that I was a registered veterinary technician with a specialty certification in emergency and critical care for about 12 years prior to switching over to animal welfare. Once I got into fostering, I really got the foster bug. I have a bottle baby of my own and have a couple of feisty but perfect tuxedos at home that like to live their life on a catio and torment my old chihuahua, and that's a little about me.
Okay. Well, Tatiana's here. You know me.
And I'm Courtney.
That's all that needs to be said.
Exactly.
Know us.
I'm Sam Brecky. I'm the medical intake and transport manager. So that means I oversee our medical department as well as our admissions department.
That's cool. Alrighty, so I guess we'll jump right in.
Yeah.
Oh no. Sorry. Okay.
So excited about this clicker, you guys.
Okay, it's back in action. All right.
So thank you guys all for joining us this morning. I know 9:30 is pretty early. Oh, I dropped the phone. Thank you for being here. So I wanted to just start off today by just framing a little bit about what we're seeing in cats in LA City. You guys are so ingrained in our operations that sometimes I think it's helpful to sort of see the 30,000-foot view. So it will come as no surprise to you guys that cat and kitten lives are still the most at risk, not only in LA, but also in the rest of California and actually in the country overall. When you look at what intake is doing for dogs, it's actually trending downwards and has been trending down for the last few years. And we think that there's a number of reasons that could contribute to that. Spay and neuter has been really effective with dogs. Dogs are not having these ginormous litters that you guys are seeing in the nursery. There's just been a lot of education around spaying and neutering too, which has been really great. The cat intake, not just in LA City but around the country, is actually doing the direct opposite of that, and the intake is actually on an upward trend. So we know that we need to intervene here, which is the reason why we have programs like nurseries and foster programs and intervention. So the figure that you're seeing here is the current save rate for the city of LA, and this is just for kittens. So you guys will see on the next slide that where we ended in 2018 was an 89.7 save rate overall. And the reason that the number was so high is because dogs have actually come to about a 94-95% save rate. Kittens are still at an 83%, and this actually matches what adult cats are too. So there's still a lot of work to do. When we, just from an admission standpoint, when we go to the shelters every day, we're at like 1 or 2 shelters every single day. We are saving as many as we can. Our partners as a whole, as the NKLA Coalition, are saving close to 10,000 kittens that come into the city shelters. And we still find that there are kittens there that we could take, that are viable, but we don't have space for them. And that's not just best friends, it's also our coalition partners are all seeing the same things. So what you see here is a snapshot of California. A couple years ago, well, actually within the last year, our national team did a huge data dive into data around the country and came up with some really interesting results. Not surprising though. So Texas is the #1 state for euthanasia, and California is actually the #2. And this number that you see here, this 111,000, this is the gap of how many animals still need to be saved to get to a 90% in California. 111,000. And any guesses as to how many of those are cats?
Hi.
It's about 75% of those are cats. So we know we need to do more with cats. Our regional team is working really hard on this too, and it's hard. It's a problem. You guys know. I mean, you guys know the nursery is a lot of work. As a state, though, we're at a 75% save rate. So really, what's holding us back is those kitten numbers. All right. Next slide.
Let's highlight the successes that we've seen these last 7 years, and a lot of that is due to all of your guys' great contributions. And so, like Jen mentioned, in 2018, we did end the year with an 89.7% save rate in a shelter system that sees over 48,000 animals per year. You guys collectively contributed over 50,000 nursery volunteer hours, and also our nursery has seen over 17,000 kittens since 2012. Cats and kittens are still the population most at risk in our shelters. So how can we help more of them directly or indirectly? And so some of these are just kind of explaining why we're here. So our goal in 2020 is to increase our foster capacity, foster focus in the nursery. So why? This has potential to save more lives in the long term. We're not limited to the amount of kennel spaces that we have on site, and fosters can pick up immediately. It creates a sustainable life-saving solution that actually can be mocked in other shelter systems that don't have maybe the funding to fund $1 million nursery. A community problem needs a community-based solution. So not every shelter has the resources we do, and so we need to put it back on the community that we do need their help. And as you guys know, the nursery is extremely labor intensive for both staff and volunteers, seeing as around 200 kittens there, each needing individualized care. It really is a lot to ask for. So what does this mean in practice? Every day our nursery and foster staff, and hopefully some of you guys, will work to get as many of these kittens into those appropriate foster homes. We are very much dedicated to the success of our foster parents, and we'll be developing infrastructures to ensure that they have every resource they need whenever they need it, and also just available trainings to help make them succeed as foster parents. And then we're hoping that this will gradually start happening January 1st. We like to say new year, new nursery, and so just kind of focusing on that shift. But wait, we still need all of you. Feeding kittens in the nursery is definitely still going to be a role, especially as we find appropriate placement for the kittens that come in. But also it's going to highlight some new volunteer opportunities for you guys. So medicating, tube feeding. I know several people on Tuesday were very interested in that. Administering sub-Q fluids, mentoring new fosters, some type of buddy system, some support line. So that way maybe they feel like it's a stupid question, but they can ask someone that's also been through this. And then kitten intake, which is already a role, but really sprucing that up and spreading our reach. Taking that lead and hosting foster appointments, getting them set up, explaining the care, the feeding, the weighing process, and then also vaccine clinics. So these clinics will be every so often where you'll vaccinate, deworm, and then just kind of do a general check on the kitten and see how they're doing. So lots, and again, these are just a few things that we thought of. As needs arise, you know, that's when new volunteer opportunities will come as well.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you guys are all probably wondering, well, how are we gonna move more animals into foster when we can't move all of our animals into foster currently? So that will be a huge marketing campaign over the next several months. We have already started planning with LA Animal Services and other coalition partners on how can we do some joint marketing campaigns so that our reach is just higher. Just going back to a little bit what Michelle was saying, a lot of our partners that are started nurseries like in 2015 are starting to feel this push as well. Like we need to start getting more of these guys into foster. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first is that medical care has skyrocketed, and it's getting harder and harder to find spay neuter and medical care. And we will talk a little bit about our internal medical team in a few minutes. The other thing is the wage and labor laws in California. So for a lot of these groups, these smaller groups who have overnight nursery staff, it can be really, really taxing on their operations, especially if they're a tiny group. So a lot of people are starting to feel this burn, especially with intake continuing to go up and seeing, like, with the injunction in place, which you guys all know, raise your hand if you know what the injunction is. Okay, we can talk about it later too. And us and the inability or our capacity to not be able to do TNR, really we have to focus our efforts on life saving, and why not try to save more kittens if we can. So foster home recruitment will be amplified. That is going to be, you're going to see that far and wide. We're going to turn over every stone to find really great fosters. And then the second thing is really just, to be completely honest and transparent with you guys, is that this change and this gradual shift is going to, affect the volunteer structure in ways that we probably don't know yet. We don't have all the answers. We don't know what the shifts are going to look like. We don't know how many appointments we're going to be able to accommodate in a day. And that's something that I want to point out too, is right now, we are really limited to how many kittens go into foster every day, because we have 2 staff members who not only put these kittens into foster, but also work on large dogs going into foster and adult cats going into foster as well. And I'll talk a little bit later about some of the changes that we've been brewing over the last 6 months. But 2 people can't do it alone, and so we need to be able to open it up for when people want to foster and they're ready. The last thing we want them to do is go online and then watch a video and then sign up here and not have a date available. And then at that point, they're probably just like, forget it. I'll go somewhere else, or I'm not going to do it. People who want to be the hero, they want instant gratification, and we want to be able to help them with that. So we want to be able to open up our appointments so that people can walk in and that we can foster, some fosters, when they want to. So that's that point. And then really another way to think about it is just, how do we shorten the individual kitten or litter's stay in the nursery? We have a figure that it's a little misleading, and I'll explain why. So we saw, or year to date, I think we've had about 2,900 kittens come through the nursery. About 2,600 of those touched the foster experience in some capacity. And that could mean that they had a length of stay for 45 days in the nursery before they went to foster, right? Especially those little guys who kind of grow up with us and then go to foster. Or it could mean that they've been in foster almost the entire time. So we are diving deeper into that data to see, which populations do we really want to target. But the goal is really to shorten their stay in the nursery, their individual stay, so that they get the proper care and attention and socialization and nurturing that they need. So
What steps have we taken already? So to start off, as a handful of you definitely know, because you've helped host these events, but we did test out our Clear the Nursery events and even open pickup windows for our current fosters. And I just, from sharing this, we did pull some numbers from the last, from our first Clear the Nursery, just to kind of, highlight some of the concerns regarding this open pickup. Was that new people weren't trained, they didn't have the quality kind of support to set them up for success. And so for the Clear the Nursery on May 25th, we had 51 fosters pick up. Of those 51 fosters, 39 of them were new fosters that we onboarded into our program. 8 of those new fosters came back to foster again. Some even moved to dogs, to adult cats, some just multiple litters. 9 of the new fosters adopted their litters, or some in their litters, or got them adopted. 4 of the returning fosters we actually re-engaged from 2018. This was their first time picking up a litter in 2019. And then 16 of the new fosters, although they didn't come back, they completed their foster period. And it just based off where they lived in like Carson and really just kind of far away. So they came at our need, but it probably wasn't a realistic location for them just due to the traveling. And then we did want to share that 5 litters came back within 1 week due to personal reasons. Either they realized it wasn't the right fit, Two litters did come back, or two fosters brought back their litters that were pan loop positive. And then one new foster did return a giant litter and then decided to keep two, understanding their limitations a little bit later. So we did want to share May, the save rate for LA Animal Services was 90.18%, and we do think Clear the Nursery had a big help in that. Compared to 2018, it was at 88.73%. So in addition to Clear the Nursery events, we did add in a third foster coordinator because when we were hiring for that role, we did anticipate this is the shift we wanted to make. And then lastly, we are in the process of changing all of the adoption specialist roles. And then as we have a vacant position, are hiring a life-saving outcome specialist. And so they have an added responsibility where it's foster support. So emails, calls, supply pickup, just anything where being at the front of line, the front desk staff can help just support our, as we increase our foster pools. And then we did open foster intake for our Black Friday promotion, which we realized we want to do as we have these kind of large promotional events, because we cleared out foster intake and everyone in there got adopted. So it was just really awesome to see that room go from full to empty in one day.
And that was the first time that we had ever done that.
Yeah.
So to talk a little bit about our medical team, I know that, for a lot of fosters and for a lot of you guys, you've seen it's been a little bit difficult to go online and find an appointment, a medical appointment, to be able to bring your fosters in. So we know that, we heard that, and I need to brag on Sam a little bit. She has been our new medical manager, and as a lot of you guys know, we had almost a complete turnover of our medical team. So it was really, really challenging to try and get us to a point where we could kind of work with everyone and all of their needs. So since Sam has taken over the program,
About 6 weeks ago.
feels like
6 years ago.
yeah. We've added a third RVT, which we have never had here. We did have two before, and we were down to one for a little while, so we added a third RVT. We have two new full-time vets. I don't know if anyone here has been able to meet Dr. Bills, but she's incredible. And we have Dr. Anna, who is coming on full-time with us as well. And a gaggle of relief vets.
Release now?
Yeah. And you share the burden of 3,000 tiny, needy, meowy things. So what we have actually found is, Jen had mentioned that a lot of the groups were having a really hard time finding spay-neuter vets. And what we found is a lot of the vets don't want full-time positions anymore. They all really want to do relief. So what we were able to do is schedule our relief vets out for the month. So Sam has been working really closely with Dr. Bills to get doctors on the schedule consistently. So we know surgery days, we know foster appointments, we have all of that stuff scheduled out. And so for the first time in a long time, we actually have medical coverage 7 days a week, which is incredible. And we also found that RVTs really can do a lot more than we realized that they could. So they're really stepping up in ways to help us too. Some of the other things that we did is opened up foster appointments on Sundays and Mondays before, when we didn't have that coverage, with SNP LA, who's right here on site, and they were doing a lot for us as well. So we also have been working with our Salt Lake City team, who has actually already made this pivot in their nursery to be a lot more foster based. It's obviously different in Salt Lake. They have seasons for one thing. So they're definitely not taking in as many kittens, but they were not even sending out bottle babies before, and they're making this pivot as well. And they have seen huge, they're calling shelters trying to find kittens to bring in. So, obviously there's some differences, but there's a lot of similarities there as well.
Yeah, their community has really stepped up to a higher sense of urgency, which is something that I don't know if you guys have noticed. We have really been pushing the organization in the direction of just a higher sense of urgency, because we know that there are kittens and just, other animals that are still dying in the shelter. So while we're still, best friends positive, we are being really honest and transparent with Angelinos, which is my favorite word, that we need their help. A lot of people don't even know where their shelters are, and so we need them to know where their shelters are, know what needs help, and where to be able to support that help. So as an organization, a couple of months ago, we came up with these, what we're calling kitten life-saving principles. And there are 3 main principles with a number of different bullet points. These are really going to be the principles that guide us in some of these changes. So the first one, and we will also share this with you guys too. The first one is that we want to be able to engage and empower the public at the highest level for kittens of all ages. And I have, forgive me if I have given this this example before, but I don't know about you guys, but my first foster litter, I was working at Siaka, lots of kittens dying there all the time. I took some bottle babies in. I did not have even a remote percentage of the support that we give to fosters in the current day. And they all lived, and I learned how to foster, and I fell in love with fostering bottle babies. Bottle babies is my jam because I have a very small apartment with 4 cats already. Please don't tell anybody that. Shouldn't leave this room. Oh, it's on the live recorded webinar.
Just don't give us your address.
Yeah, don't live in the city of Los Angeles. And had I not been given that opportunity, I actually probably wouldn't be here where I am today. We need to be able to create strategies that remove the barriers to participation. And so one of that is making it easy for people to come and learn if they want. It doesn't mean that we're going to send them with a totally inappropriate kitten, but it does mean we're going to say, here's the problem. Here, what's your comfort level? Here's some kittens that match that comfort level. Really trusting people that they will step up if they know what the problem is, and that's something that we really need to be more honest and transparent about, is that kittens are still dying. And I know that's really hard for people to, to get that information. And really empowering everyone to take part in kitten caretaking, even if it's just for a short term. So right now, I think we say, we ask that you give a minimum of 2 weeks, and that's usually pretty helpful. But if there is somebody who can bottle feed kittens for a week, why wouldn't we do that, right? It's just sharing the burden of these tiny meowy things. And then lastly, creating a welcoming kitten care center for kittens for our fosters to really engage in our mission. So you may see some changes, and we'll reach out to all of you on some advice on this, but we may add some high tops and chairs and different little stations in the nursery where foster counselors and volunteers can really help counsel new fosters, make them feel comfortable without having to hover over those tables and you guys showing them how to feed. That can be quite challenging. So that's the first of the kitten life-saving principles. The second you're gonna cover.
Me?
All right.
Yes. So obviously, we want to save more lives so we can save them all. We know that there is still a big life-saving gap, and we need to fix that. So something that Michelle had mentioned is increasing the capacity within our life-saving centers to save more kittens. So, we know we only have a certain amount of space in the nursery. We know our partners only have a certain amount of space to be able to bring kittens in. And if we can really engage the public to helping us more, we can take in more of those kittens, knowing that they'll be going out to foster. Another thing that we want to mention is, we know that Best Friends is one of the leaders in animal welfare, and a lot of people look to us to kind of see what next practices are. We also have these regional teams that are going out to places all over the country that do not have the resources that Best Friends has. And so we're not going to be able to go out and tell a tiny little rescue, you guys should open $1 million nursery. It's just not going to happen. They do not have the ability to do that. So we need to make sure that we can develop a replicable model that takes less on-site care time, and it's less resource intensive than what current kitten nursery practices are. So, we know that our big goal is 2025 and ending the killing of pets by 2025. And we know that that can only be achieved by offering practical, cost-effective approaches to life-saving.
And then the last life-saving principle we're going to have Leah talk a little bit about with her extensive medical critical care.
Yeah, but I think I'm kind of already speaking to the choir here, that you guys, I think most of you who here is fostered personally here and also volunteer in the nursery, right? Most of us. And would you agree that when you're providing quality foster care, that's more ideal for the kitten than, spending 4, 6, 8 weeks in a kennel, right? We do our best. The kitten nursery is amazing. We're top of the line in, preventing disease transmission and all that, but it still doesn't replace being in a home, the social and emotional well-being they get, hands-on handling and attention, bonding with people, potentially different species in the home, you know, maybe meeting children, and it's obviously much more enriching for them. It also helps the fewer kittens that we have in the nursery, the less likelihood we're going to have of disease outbreaks and viral spreads and that sort of thing. So it really is a win-win for the kittens that are in foster, it's better for, and if there are fewer ones on site, it's going to be healthier for them in the long run as well.
Yeah, so the next thing that we want to do, and we're powering through this a bit because we want to save some time for questions at the end, but we've already drafted some questions that we anticipated and want to answer for you. So we're going to go through those questions, but if you have questions that don't, or if you have questions that we're not addressing, let's ask them toward the end, and we'll also check online and see if there are any questions there at the end. And just, you know, just some ground rules. Make sure that we're just having one person speak at a time, especially because we have our friends on the webinar. It can be hard to hear when there are multiple people speaking. And let's just keep it respectful. So, all right, so let's move into the questions. So what does this mean for volunteers? I think we already went through this. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be able to, there'll still be feeding, there'll still be opportunities to feed, bottle feed, syringe feed, everyone's favorite. And then, but maybe even expanding that, tube feeding, again, like that other slide reference, what opportunities can we expand to you guys to help out with? And then what new roles do we anticipate having just based on this shift? So there'll still be tons to do in the nursery.
Okay. So what does this mean for staff?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously staff is still going to be an extremely important and integral part of our team. We're not planning on seeing anyone go anywhere unless they choose to of their own accord and are moving on to bigger and better things. But their job responsibilities may be pivoted some to provide more foster support, potentially more you know, support to the public and mentoring. I know I've already spoken to Courtney, and we'll be talking to Tati too about really engaging them in the off season on doing some, you know, targeting recruiting of more fosters, but nursery staff is going to be heavily involved in building out in concert with you guys the roles we see volunteers being helpful in. We're going to develop those as we come across new problems too, because it won't roll out perfectly. We're going to do our best to anticipate and set ourselves up for success, and then we're going to be flexible and make transitions as needed once we see what it's really like once we get out there. So we're just going to be continuing to engage our staff and you know, just look to use everyone to the best. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's where I was going.
Do we have enough foster homes for this many kittens, Michelle?
So we do have a pretty decent active foster pool, as many of you guys know personally, but we are really going to have to spruce up our just like recruitment tactics, like looking at where our current fosters are and the zip codes. Can we look on a map to see what zip codes nearby that we haven't targeted and like flood them with like foster recruitment, spreading the awareness of best friends. So we are really just open to suggestions. If you guys, as like fosters from other organizations, what websites you use or what tools you use to find foster opportunities, you know, please let us know, because everything is on the table right now. So that way we're again on top of it and partnering with the marketing team to again spread the need to the community. And then also just being strategic and communities that we target, like HOAs, senior living, or even, yeah, just any community that maybe has a potential to help.
And I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but we, you know, noodled on this idea of like a fosters on deck system. Can you talk a little bit about your research there?
Yeah. So this is a system that is currently being used by the ASPCA's kitten program, I guess, out of Baldwin Park. But they have a system for their fosters where instead of the fosters are coming to us and saying, okay, like I would like to have an appointment today, what do you have for me? And maybe we don't have what they need. What we're going to be trying to do instead is get everybody on board already. And then once we get the kittens in that match with what you can take and what you want to take and what you have the training to take, then we will pair you up with that kitten. So we already have a foster home in line, like an empty kennel, for these kittens that are coming in from the shelters, and then we'll play matchmaker with you.
So it's a more proactive approach as opposed to kind of reacting and going, oh, we have all these kittens, let's find them a home.
Yeah.
This is okay, we could,
We're
the system you
getting
can
our
do
fosters lined up before we
yeah,
have the kittens.
it's like having
in
a
the
queue or
shelters.
an on-call.
Exactly.
So there's a really interesting platform that she's played around with that's neat, where you can do filters of they're looking for 5 to 6 weeks old and they're comfortable with URI kittens and they have experience, blah, blah, blah. And you can do these filters and say, wow, these 3 people are available in this time frame. I'll call them and see, can you come pick up Cutie and Patootie?
Yeah, yes, yeah. Yeah, and I will say that, obviously we are not the ASPCA and we're not Baldwin Park, but they don't have an on-site nursery at all, and they were able to save, I believe they do about 1,500 every year just through their foster program. So imagine what we can do.
Okay, so next question is, how will foster parents be trained?
Every avenue possible. There'll be online resources, in-person resources, just any way that someone can come into our program. We want to open up that door or that window. So it's just any way, and that's where a potential volunteer role can be, is like being that mentor in there, showing someone how to do a bottle feeding session for their first time, or showing someone what it's like to make gruel, how to draw it up in the syringe, and how to like safely and slowly kind of give that to your kids until they latch on. So there's just going to be a ton of exciting new opportunities with that if you guys are comfortable working with people and sharing your love of neonatal kids. We don't want to force you to work with people if you don't want to. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Nicole, I'm gonna softball this one to you.
Okay.
Can foster homes take care of sick kittens?
Absolutely they can. So there's no reason that a foster who's been properly trained can't take care of a URI kitten at home. They're gonna get better care than they would here because they'll get more individual attention. We saw really great success with people stepping up to take ringworm fosters, and so along the same principles, we'll be providing more training for how to deal with URIs, diarrhea, that sort of thing, as well as administering fluids, because that right now is a big barrier to sending kittens out to foster, but with the proper training, it's not a big deal. So, yeah.
It's quite fun.
Yes. Well, I don't know.
Cute little bubble and. Yeah, right? What happens if fosters can't keep their kittens anymore?
I don't think this is going to be any different than what's currently in play. We do ask fosters to communicate to us ideally a couple days in advance so we can ensure that we have the right spot for them. But again, emergencies do happen, and we're always accommodating to these fosters, and then we make it work. So I don't anticipate anyone not being able to return their kittens back. We'll always be able to bring them back in.
Yeah, and through this fosters on deck system too, we may be able to say, okay, this person, had an unexpected something come up, and these kittens really need to go into foster. Do they even need to come back here? Can they go to a different foster who is maybe available that day? So we'll also be using the system for that. Will we keep recruiting new volunteers in the future?
Yes, it's definitely going to be an as need. We're not going to be doing the same approach we've done historically where we open it up to anyone. It's going to be more targeted and maybe more specialized kind of skill set. So if there's a need for overnight volunteers, recruiting an overnight, like offering an overnight training, again, if it works with the staffing levels, but again, that's just one of many ideas. So again, it's just looking at what the need is, and if we don't have the volunteers in our current pool for it, then expanding that out to someone new and welcoming them into our program.
And so then the last question, and then we can sort of wrap up and then open it up to the floor, is the gold pop system. How is that going to change?
So it's definitely going to be a little bit different, but we still want some type of incentive system for either maybe like fosters, bottle baby fosters, again, just whatever the need is. It's still something that we've been brainstorming. I think Marcy made a really fun joke of it being measured by miles people travel to come volunteer or foster. And so again,
Hours in traffic.
Hours in traffic, that's what it is. So yeah, that was a good one. But just, again, we're really open to it. We're really just talking about it, what we see the need being and how we can make the incentive program be based off of that. So again, if you guys have any ideas, feel free to send them our way.
Yeah, and I think as far as next steps, we are meeting weekly so the staff team in here is meeting weekly, and the reason we wanted to meet with all of you is because we value your feedback very much. And we're gonna need help figuring some of this stuff out. We're gonna have to get to work on some new training. We're gonna find a system that is a little bit more user-friendly so people can log on, identify what they wanna look at, and, you know, be able to watch a short, informative, impactful video, anytime that they need to. We're also going to ramp up our marketing, which you guys will start to see as well. And then just one question before we open up the floor. I did want to, you know, one of the things with Foster's on Deck is I think it's such a amazing, innovative idea. But one of the things I think about is how do we keep people engaged without the, you know, the promise of a kitten in front of them. So if we start recruiting and we get a lot of interest in January, how do we kind of keep them engaged until, you know, March or April? So that's a question that I'm just going to throw out for people to start thinking about because it's something that I struggle with.
So far, there are no questions.